I don't know. I feel like I'm just kind of. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. Just kind of just existing here. Yeah, let me pull my Twitter back over here. Then I'll pull that here. Maybe there's something else I could figure out to do with this weird energy stream. I don't know. Maybe I stumble upon some other tweet that I could just like turn into like a rant or something about. Or maybe we could. Hmm. Or maybe we watch this video that Noam Chomsky posted. Because Noam Chomsky's pretty rad. We could turn it into like a little minor educational bit right here. Let's
People are interested in linguistics for all sorts of reasons, but my own interest for since the beginning for 50 years has been as a way of exploring some aspects of human higher mental
This was
faculties and
recorded a
ultimately of
while
human
ago because
nature,
he
which should
looks
show up in every
way
domain,
younger than
not
he does
just in.
now in this
Language happens to
video.
be one of the
This must
few
have been recorded
areas
at least a
where you
decade
can
ago,
study very core
maybe even
human
20 years ago.
capacities,
Like,
unique
because Noam
and core human
Chomsky's like,
capacities in a very
God, I think he's like
intense way
90 or
and
something, or getting close to
achieve
90
some
now, isn't he? Hold on,
non-result.
let me look up Noam Chomsky age. Noam Chomsky age. Oh my God, he's 92. Wow, he's still kicking it. Damn, dude. Noam Chomsky is 92. He was born December 7th of 1928. Wow. Dude, what an awesome old person. Wow. 92. Man, he might not be around much longer then for real. Cause like, which like was already kind of true, but damn. 'Cause I feel like once you get into the 90s, it's like you could die at like any point and it just wouldn't be that surprising anymore. Because 90 is really old for a human to live. But hey, good for him. You know, he's lived a great life, and he's still like, you know, like a he's still a great person. I should probably like really like actually like consume more of his work and stuff because a lot of the people I like in the political sphere will very regularly cite Noam Chomsky as one of their major influences. And I've seen Noam Chomsky speak in real life. Like a decade ago, he came to he came to the university here, and he gave like a just like an open lecture to the public, and it was like I think it was free of admission, or at least it was like cheap enough that like me, my mom, and my stepdad were all able to go. And also like my because I was in high school at the time, and um, two of my teachers were offering extra credit for taking notes during that lecture. So I brought like a notebook with me, and I was like taking notes on what he was talking about. And he talked about so many different things. I don't think I have that notebook anymore, though. It's probably just. I don't even know where I would look for it. I think the only notebooks I have are the ones I had from college. I think anything I had that from like high school is just too far back, because that would be like actually a decade ago. But um, but then he's a really great speaker, um, and he's very smart. Really knows what he's talking about when it comes to a lot of things. And he was recently on the Crystal Kyle and Friends podcast, which is a podcast I've been enjoying. I haven't been keeping up with that podcast for the past couple of weeks, so I've missed a couple. But I think like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, no, they had Noam Chomsky on, and Kyle was super excited about that because he adores Noam Chomsky, and Kyle actually had a really interesting question for him towards the end of the podcast. Let me take a sip of water here though, because my throat's getting a bit dry. He had a really interesting question that I thought was like that I've just been kind of thinking about ever since. And he asked Noam Chomsky if he thinks that social democracy is the peak of human potential. And Noam Chomsky's response wasn't exactly a yes, wasn't exactly a no, but it was, he responded in a very Socratic way. Because he responded by saying, you know, back in feudal Europe, in that time, in the medieval period of Europe, people would say would often wonder was the very same thing about feudalism. For a long time, it was thought that feudalism might be the peak of what humans could really do. And well, obviously to us, like obviously they were wrong because of course it wasn't the peak. So, while social democracy might be the best system that we have right now, it might not be the best system possible for how we structure societies and governments in the future. So it's a very, I thought that was a very interesting response and very insightful, very wise, because it recognizes the the very good things that social democracy does, especially in comparison to um, the current alternatives, which are usually either like complete um, ineffective anarchy or aggressively authoritarian systems. Um, and social democracy has, at least compared to previous systems, has found a pretty good middle ground existence, but is probably not the peak of what we could do. We could probably do better than what social democracy is. And I'm saying this as someone who, like, I don't like to label myself too much, but like if I had to, like, out of like the various political ideologies that are out there, if I had to pick one, I'd probably label myself as a social democrat. But I also recognize that, like, maybe we go further than that, and that might actually be the correct thing to do. But I'm not smart enough to really know for sure. Um, I'm smart enough to know that like social democracy is better than what we have for sure, um, and that if we instituted social democratic policies, that millions, like hundreds of millions of lives, would dramatically improve. So maybe, but maybe there's more. Um, but yeah. Anyways, let's actually go back to this Noam Chomsky video that was, I don't even know when this was recorded, but this is clearly like at least a decade old. He looks so young. I mean, I say he looks young, but he's like clearly like still. But like 10 years ago he would have been in his 80s. 20 years ago he would have been in his 70s. So like it'd still be considered old, but this was definitely recorded a while ago.
Results that go beyond superficial understanding. In most areas, it's very hard to do it, but this is one area in which you can. And at the core of this capacity for language, it's been recognized for centuries, is a kind of what was sometimes called a creative aspect. The free ability to do what you and I are doing, to express our thoughts without limit, within constraints, but without limit, in novel ways and so on. That's somehow a fundamental part of human nature. It's the core of Cartesian philosophy, was this ability, for example. Well, similar questions arise in every aspect of human capacity, and again, it's traditional. So David Hume, 250 years ago, pointed out that the foundation of morals must be what we nowadays call generative grammar. He didn't call it that, but it must be some set of principles that we're capable of applying in novel situations, again, without limit. And he pointed out these principles have to be part of our nature because there's no way to acquire them from experience. In theory, you can learn something about these aspects of human nature, and that, moving over to the domain of human affairs, including politics, but personal life or anything else, anyone who takes any stand on anything, say if you're in favor of keeping things the way they are, or some minor reform or revolution or whatever it may be, I mean, if you're serious about it, if you're acting as a kind of a moral agent, you think what you do should meet certain minimal moral standards. You're taking that position because you think it's good for people. It's going to somehow conform. It's going to bring out and amplify and offer possibilities for their fundamental nature to express itself. Well, at that point, there's a theoretical connection, but it's pretty abstract. Because when you deal with anything as complex as human beings, you're always on the surface. In fact, we can't answer questions like this about insects.
Yeah.
It'll be a long time, if ever, before one can have anything like scientific understanding of any questions like these.
Let's see if there's anything in the comments. I don't know. Hmm. I don't know. I guess I don't have a whole lot to add to that, to be honest. Um, but yeah, there's a little bit of Noam Chomsky for you. Huh. But I guess something I could say is yeah, what he says about like the idea of being like, if you're like politically active, whether you're like in favor of like some kind of reform or revolution or activism or whatever the hell, um, like if you're serious about it, you're probably doing it because genuinely um, you genuinely see it as the right thing to do. And that's definitely how I like found myself where I am in terms of like my political understanding of things and views of things. Because I exist on leftist Twitter, but one thing that bothers the hell out of me about leftist Twitter is how obsessed they are with ideology. Which like ideology matters, don't get me wrong, but there's like this obsession with caring about like what specific brand of like leftism you tether yourself to, or like what type of or like what's the phrasing I'm looking for? Um, I lost it. But it's like it's just like there's this almost like this view that you have to like really care about a particular type of oh man, I really lost my train of thought there. Damn it. But point being that they are very ideologically focused,